cardio. Maybe you are not doing enough cardio. Maybe the cardio is not intense enough, or maybe the type of cardio again just sucks. Like, it's not a good type of cardio. It's just a poor selection. Now, what do I mean by this? Doing more. Okay, so do you need to do more? In the case of fat loss, I mean, like, you have these people, I've run into them quite frequently, where they're like, I don't want to do any cardio, and because of that, I would rather just like chop my food, out the gate, just super low, and then we'll just sit here. I get that, and I respect that. I respect it because food is going to be the thing that is more accurate in terms of depicting the kind of deficit that we're going to be in. However, doing some cardio could allow you to keep more food in place, which ultimately could allow you to perform better in your training, which is ultimately the thing that's going to allow you to keep muscle on your frame. So I'm not a fan of like having absolutely no cardio in. And I'm a little weirded out when people are like, I don't want to do any cardio. I'm like, what? Like, it's not like I'm not going to make you run. Like, you don't even have to fucking do the Stairmaster. Just get on the treadmill. Just like set it to 5%. Like, I don't know. Answer text messages, scroll on Instagram. Like, this isn't like, we're not talking about high intensity cardio. And maybe that's out the gate, what I need to come out with and be like, hey, it's not running. It's not sprints. It's not fucking battle rope. Like, it's pretty manageable. With that being said, increasing intensity. Some people will, be like, yeah, I do 25,000 steps a day. But in order to hit that, I am on the treadmill and I'm doing 0% incline at like, I don't know, 2 miles an hour. And I'm like, why are you wasting so much time on the treadmill at like such a moderate low intensity? Or actually, no, an indescribably low intensity. And in that case, it's like, I know some, and I don't know, it's not even me I'm not trying to be funny. People who have those really high activity rates on any given day, I almost want to be like, okay, I think like the duration, yeah, that might be there, but the intensity, like it's not. And if we were to increase intensity, that could in turn get you a little bit more out of your fat loss efforts because you're going to be burning more calories. And now we freed up some of that time that you were spending doing cardio previously, in the assumption that it's structured and not just like, I don't know, a consequence of like your job or your just day-to-day life. We could free some of that time up and you could be recovering. You could be doing things that are more productive. Okay, cool. That's what I want to see. The other thing, trying different types of cardio. And I actually mean this more in the way of like the individual who's like married to the Stairmaster, who's like, that's the one I use because I like getting good sweat. I like feeling pain. I like, just being exhausted. And it's like, I get that. I understand it. There was a time where very much I was losing body fat and like a good chunk of my cardio was coming from the Stairmaster. And that can be okay. Yes, but not in the essence in which it's taking away from your ability to recover, which it absolutely will do. So if you have like 180 minutes or 240 minutes of weekly total cardio that you need to do, and a good portion of that is Stairmaster, I may suggest let's switch to a lower intensity steady state, something that is a little easier to recover from. And even though you're not going to be burning as many calories, what we can do is take that fuel that is now being burned through to just get through the Stairmaster. We can take some of it and reallocate it towards training performance. Again, like I said, it's ultimately going to keep more muscle on your frame. That is something that we have to uphold. We have to have high integrity around training performance. So in terms of just like sucking like up all that food, all of those calories, and like shuttling it, like keeping it in reserve for cardio, I'm not as big of a fan of that. And especially when we talk about like cardio is going to have exponentially more of a cost. It's going to have a higher cost the leaner you get and the longer you've been doing it. So it's not something that I tend to prescribe as like, hey, as a baseline, I just have everyone do stairs because it burns more calories. Well, yeah, no shit it does. There's just not good, like there's not a lot of thought that goes in past it burns a lot of calories. Yes, it does, but there is a consequence associated with that. Now, whatever it is that we're doing, whatever kind of modification that we're making to your program, in some way you need to understand how it's affecting whatever specific lever we're talking about. So if it doesn't map back to one of these 4 levers, why are we doing it? Like if, for example, if you think like adding a recovery day is going to help you feel stronger in your workouts, okay, maybe it will. But hear me out. If you were thinking of adding a recovery day to and help prove training performance, it's kind of like, well, what's being done on the recovery aspect rather than look to what we can add in place. What can we take away? So is it possible that you are doing so much cardio or workouts that are like so late at night, or you're having stimulants later in the day that ultimately are impeding sleep? And if that's the case, can we make a correction there before essentially taking away one of your training days, adding in an extra recovery day to ultimately drive training performance? Is there something that we could do that could get the same effect by, potentially either sleeping better or managing stress better? And if not, then yeah, maybe like the answer is to take the recovery day. But if you can get better results by just tweaking something else, like in the diet or the training, or just from a overall like scheduling systems standpoint, I would do that instead. And kind of like what I was saying before, I think the thing that people get really lost in the mix is they think that more is always better. And there are times where more is necessitated and more is absolutely what you need to do. But I think a lot of people get hung up on like, okay, I'm just going to add more training volume, or I'm going to add more cardio. But here's why that's not always the best move. If you push past your recovery capacity, especially in a fat loss phase when you are in a state of low energy availability, your performance is going to be affected by this. Your ability to recover will be affected by this. And you're going to hit a wall where eventually fatigue builds so high that that cardio then backfires, that you're not able to perform at the same consistency or with the same consistency at the same output. Your hunger signaling is going to go up. Adherence could absolutely go down. I think that's very plausible. And you end up creating a deficit that isn't sustainable, one that ultimately you can't adhere to, because now you have this input, the very high amount of cardio or a very high amount of training, that ultimately is fucking up the system. It's moving you off the tracks. Now, you've got to weigh the opportunity cost here. If you're doing more, it needs to be because collectively it is allowing you to perform better. Not that it's just allowing you to get better results in the intermediary or acutely, but it needs to be considered whether doing more is going to come at the expense of recovery, because given that is one of our big pillars that ultimately is going to affect your ability to lose fat faster.